I have been lately going on this adventure with, I would say, more vintage makeup. Currently, I am really invested in 60s kind of makeup, at least the more, well, so far of what I could see, a little bit more like elaborate makeup. And one look that I actually kind of discovered yesterday is Sophia Loren's makeup, but it is just a very unique kind of eye shape of makeup that I really haven't seen other people do. It definitely is similar, and I've seen like videos of people like recreating like similar vibes, but I do think it is such a very like unique kind of thing, and I kind of wanted to just try it out myself. So I did kind of do my brows a bit like hers, except for the fact of hers are like very like feathery, and I'm very like, I think what I want to kind of do with this is have the ideal of the look kind of, but still do it something that I would normally like do for myself. So I am actually going to be making this look a little bit more colorful. Of course, for the time period, I don't even know if there's as many colors, but for two, I think it's just to each their own. I like colorful, so I'm going to go a bit more colorful. The palette that we will be using is the DD Signature Sweetheart and Secrets palette. Just love this palette, and I feel like I've just kind of not used it for like a little bit, so I do want to give it similar love, especially because like she's like so pretty recent, and she's just absolutely gorgeous. But let's go ahead and start out. Alright, so we are zoomed in kind of on the eyes, not completely. All I have on my eyes so far is just a little bit of concealer. I'm just using the L'Oreal Infallible, but of course use whatever. I'd love to kind of just have some sort of base to blank out the lids. Now this is not a like creaseless concealer, so I'm just going to use a sponge to go over everything to make sure we are kind of like neutraled out. And then first things first, I want to do is this iconic waterline. So for that, I'm just going to be using a pretty neutral eye pencil. So I'm just going to be taking this along my waterline, and I'm taking it all the way into the eye. As far as I can see, yeah, the inner part of her eye is like very open. It will tickle, so if you need to like take your time, obviously do that. And then when we get to this outer edge here, I'm literally going to pretend like my lashes just aren't there and pull the wing out a little bit further. For what it looks like to me with her makeup is that it is all very like it's meant to kind of pull the eye up in a pretty angular way. I don't think you're really gonna be able to see this too much when you do it on yourself. Hopefully you will, but as we build the shadows and stuff around it, we'll be able to see it better. So once that is applied, I'm just taking my sponge, use whatever, but I really just want to make sure that our under eye is as smooth as possibly can be, especially just with our concealer or whatever product you're using. I'm gonna go ahead and take, it's a very like kind of small-ish flat brush. You can use an angled brush, whatever. And the shade I'm going to use is called Stolen Glance, which is this like purpley shade. Very pretty. And all I'm really going to do is I'm kind of going to, let's see. So I do tend to, for myself with eyeshadow, kind of base things off of like my eye to make it kind of easier for myself. So it does look like her where the darkness kind of stops in the inner part is right here, like where your color part of your eye is. So I'm just going to kind of stamp that there. And then I am just going to, so stamp that there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and follow this along. And then when I get to our outer corner, I'm going to make sure, so this is where you can kind of correct if your pencil got out of hand, is I'm really just going to make sure that I am following right along where this would go up. And what's nice, I love with like a brush like this, again, you can use an angle brush, is if you're kind of struggling to get the swoop, which is hard, you can really just kind of stamp and create that line really, really easily. And then I'm just gonna take my time, stamp over this, building up the color just to get it as pigmented as I want it to be. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and dip in with soft blush, so this pretty neon hot pink shade. I'm just gonna dip in with kind of a longer fluffy brush, and then all I'm gonna do, because this brush is still quite small, is just along the edges. I had recently saw in a video somebody mention this, and I think it is actually like so smart, which like some of you may already know this, but just in case, like when I heard it I was like, oh yeah, that does kind of make sense, which is to tap between where the shadow is and where your skin is. And a lot of times if the color is similar, like I would say this one is, it really just kind of does the blending for you. And then with blending it out, it still is very vibrant, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like I lost a little bit of the intensity, so I'm going to go back in with a little bit of the Stolen Glances shade and just kind of basically reapplying it just to make sure that we keep that strong, defined line. We will be using liquid liner, so truthfully, you don't have to do this step. It's just because I love color, I just wanted to. And a little blend in with that brush. I have no additional product on this brush we used earlier. Just using that to help to marry the two. And then I'm just going to take a big ol' clean blending brush just to further soften everything out. So now for the top part, I'm going to again take my sponge to stamp everything out. I know I did this in the beginning, I probably didn't need to. You can also use your finger if you're worried of a finger, brush, whatever. Just to make sure that all the little bits are stamped out. And then I'm going back in with Stolen Glances. And I'm actually going to be taking a more kind of firm packing brush. And this part honestly is pretty easy in my opinion. So when I look at her kind of eye up close, it looks like she only fills in the color on like the actual mobile part of the lid, if that makes sense. So just this kind of rounded part. And then anywhere that I have that kind of winged out lighter shade, I'm just going to skip. We will be going in with liner. That is really going to help to define this, but I do feel like you are able to skip that and it's not really noticeable. And for me, I really want it just to be, which I do have a bit of a fold. I guess all of us technically do, but basically I want it to be that when my eye is open, like there's not a lot of this darker shade peeking around the edges. Mainly for her, this does look like a look that like when you see her dead on, which is pretty much the photo I'm showing you, you don't really see much shadow into the crease. I will show you in a second. I am going to add that lighter pink shade just because, like, if you, which I'm sure she did the same, if you do close your eyes, there is going to be some form of a line. So you do want to at least have that blended out, but knowing that the main focus really is just going to be on that liner. And can we just take a moment to celebrate Dee Dee's Signature's palette? I mean, just in general, if you have not tried out Dee Dee's Signature, seriously, one of my absolute favorite formulas on the market. I mean, you can just see how pigmented this is. Like, if you are not already using indie brands, like, you really need to, at least for what I've tried from a lot more, like, I haven't tried as much, like, high-end stuff, but at least what I've heard from people who have, it's just nothing compared to indie. Indie really kicks it out of the park. Okay, so next I'm going to take a bit of a fluffier brush, and we're going to be dipping back in with soft blush. We're honestly just going to do the same thing that we did on the lower lash line, so stamping around. And I really, for me, want this just to be a very soft shade that is not super noticeable. The reason I'm doing color, for one, is because I love color, but also I do want a little bit to be peeking out, but our main thing is going to be that liner. So I'm going to do my best to not take the pink shade too high. I really want it really just to be when you see my eyes open, it's just like, oh, there's some level of pink there. But like all of this up here, she's blank, which I mean, for a time saver, love that. Now for our next part is probably honestly going to be one of the more trickier parts of the look, which is going to be the liner. I think that there are so many, at least in our current modern world, so many different options you can use. You can definitely use gel, you can use liquid, which I will be using. I do have liquid in the form of a pen. To be honest, if I did have one, I might be using that to help me out, but I don't have one. I just have like a brush one. This is an Essence one that I have that I'm really trying to get some use out of, so that is what I'll be using today. You can use shadow. I will definitely be utilizing shadow a little bit. I think it's a really great trick, especially lines can be difficult, and if you're like me, it is the morning. I've had some coffee, so I'm not as, calm as it'd be great for like a super precise line. So we're just gonna do our best to relax. But yeah, I'm using the Essence Super Precise eyeliner. It is long lasting and waterproof. The big reason why I own this is because it is waterproof. But what I'm gonna start off with is I want to take this all along our lashes, and hopefully I don't mess up while I'm on camera. That'd be nice. And then one of the harder things for me, but I was able to do it, and I'm happy she doesn't extend it too much, is she does, or not at all, but she takes the liner all the way into the inner part of her eye. Now, for us watery eye folks, I think that, and even within herself, sometimes when I really zoom into the photo, the inner part of the eye here, if you can see like my underskin, you can still see that. I'm gonna leave that there. I don't want to have so much, because then what will happen is it will mix with my like tears, and then this inner part here on the bottom will be black, and I don't want that. Like, you can of course correct it, but I don't want to have to. Same thing, following along. Now, when I do get to where we are kind of skipping, I am gonna stop. And then one thing I do find quite interesting that she kind of does with hers is it almost looks to me like my brain wants to say a shelf, which I don't even know if that makes sense, but it goes, instead of either going down or going up like we would think, it almost seems to go to the side and meet up with this darker pink shade here. So I'm just gonna do just that. So I have it, and off to the side. Hopefully that works. I do think it is probably a little bit up, but that way at least we keep that open area there. All right, well, that is kind of figuring itself out. We're going to go ahead and start on with the lower lash line. I am going to be pulling in another palette, but if you have a black or whatever shade you want to use, feel free to do that. I have the Grackle Chat one in front of me from Titanium Foxes, and I'm just using the black shade. And then I'm actually going to I just have a really fine liner brush. I just really want it to be something that I can get under this lower lash line. For me, I don't know how she does the underneath and not get liner all over her lashes. I struggle really hard with that, but I'm just going to follow along. Now, in my opinion, what I see is where the liner is the deepest is going to be right at this part of the eye right here. It looks like she has legit liquid, and the rest almost looks like a smudgy pencil. And she does take it to about the same spot. I probably overdid it a little bit, but I do feel like this really does help to frame the eyes really well. And I also like that it gives kind of this softness, something I really love about shadow. And then I'm just going to be using, again, same black shadow for now. And I want to meet up. What's nice is this is a way to, if you need to correct your liner underneath or your like lighter shade, you are really able to follow it up. And then a tip that I feel like I've just been doing for years, was taught probably, I don't know, forever ago by somebody else, but if you've not tried it, I feel like it kind of is just natural, but if you don't, kind of the whole having your pinky rest on your face while you're doing the shadow, I feel like really just, it kind of helps to stabilize your hand a bit more to keep it easier to like fill in. So now that we have that, I think we are really in a pretty good spot. One thing I also wanted to show you, I personally don't think I'm going to have to use it today, but I have this from NYX. It's an Epic ink liner. Actually, funny enough, got it. Like, they did a thing on Ulta where if you bought like 2 of their other products, you got one of these for free. And this is like a nude shade. And what's so freaking cool is that it has, for one, a brush tip. It's very think KVD, but at a much cheaper price. But it is a brush tip. It's not a felt tip, which is really cool. I don't personally think I need it, but I like that we have this option. I did do this look yesterday, so this way I might have a little bit, have it more figured out, but I did use this a lot yesterday, and it worked like a gem to really just overcorrect anything or correct anything that you just thought doesn't look great. Definitely a really good tool if you need it / if you want it, because hello, what a very like unique product, and especially for looks like this, I think is going to be like so freaking helpful. So next part is going to be the main eyeliner on top of the lid. So how I tend to do that for myself, this is just anytime I really want to do, I'm going to call it a pretty thick winged liner, is I have my liner here. I'm going to start where my like pupil is, and I'm just going to put where I want it to be like the thickest. Now for my eye shape, I don't know why I've been doing this for a long time when I want to do a thick liner, is I love to just have it really thick up here in the front. And then what I love is, yeah, I feel like, at least for me, it makes it kind of an easier stepping stone to just round it off. And then, of course, we need to fill in this outer part here. what I usually do when I do something like that is I'm going to start at my outer edge. I'm just going to kind of create an invisible line in my head to connect that. And then just fill it in. Sorry if the light or anything has changed. I'm going to work, so I took a second to get dressed real quick so that we could finish the rest of this. So yeah, just in case any of that is not the same, I do apologize. I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with my good old friend, the black eyeshadow. I think I'm just honestly gonna use the same brush. I hope you can see on the side, I did not do the best. Don't you just love when that happens? As I was saying, I did not do the best job with my liner, which is okay because you know what? We are human, and yeah, and also too, I haven't practiced my wing liner like in a long time, so you know, could be a little worse, but I'm just going to use this black shadow just to anywhere that things need to be kind of softened. I'm just going to use that. Any areas that need to be filled in. So my camera just kind of cut off, so I'm not fully sure we got, as I was trying to say. I really like how the black shadow really can just smooth things out and almost give it like a softness kind of, it makes it look finished. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. It gives it a really nice like finished appearance. Next up, we are going to do lashes, or at least start to prep them. I'm just going to show you how I do it. I was taught this by somebody forever ago, and of course I forget. Love that for me. Love getting older, man. I'm just using Duo Lash Glue. This is the brush on, one of my absolute favorites. I am taking these lashes. Unfortunately, I do not know what they are. All they say is A071 3D. I do think I got these at the Dollar Tree a while ago. I really have not been wearing lashes a lot lately, and I'm trying to get back into wearing them. And she definitely does. One thing we're going to be doing is she extends hers. At least for what I personally can see, it does look like she follows this little winged liner. So we're going to do the same thing to kind of really extend and or open the eyes. Okay, so all I'm going to do is taking one of my lashes. I mean, honestly, pretty similar. And I do think a lot of people do this. I'm just going to basically prep it. So I'm just going to put a good amount of lash glue on the band, and then per what I've learned from others, really focusing a good amount on the ends. Next, we're going to be going in with mascara. Now, I don't feel like it really matters specifically for the top of kind of mascara you use. For the bottom, I do want to use a more kind of one that I'm used to, so I'm using the Essence Lash Princess Waterproof. Originally, when I was playing this look yesterday, I had thought that she'd drawn some individual lashes on the bottom lash line, but through kind of playing myself, I've noticed that natural lashes do, at least mine are, which I think most people's are, able to go out a little bit longer and create that kind of look. It's not difficult to do, but I think it just helps to frame the eye more. And then comes the tough part, applying mascara now or after I apply the lashes. Let's go ahead and do it now, or after. So I'm going to take my lash glue. One thing I do as well is I will try to do it kind of just like a liner. Now, I'm probably going to put on a little bit too much because I don't know how much I'm going to need, or like where my lash is actually going to lay. I'm going to do my best to not get it on my actual lashes. And then I'm also going to, where this gap wing is, just along that black there. I had watched several videos yesterday, and nobody really mentioned this from what I could see. But if I assume, and at least what it looks like to me, is that she might have added the lash a little bit there. I do know that it is quite a more drag queen technique that a lot of makeup looks are kind of based off of drag aesthetics sometimes. So I would not be surprised if this is a technique. But also, the main reason I'm doing it is the idea I feel like is to elongate and or open the eyes. And I do feel like by adding that lash longer out there, it really is helping to elongate the lashes, almost giving this non-human kind of vibe. I don't know if we would say non-human, but this, as if you're like different, and I don't know, like your lashes extend further, and I don't know, I think it's fun just to play with different looks and see what we think. This side is dried down, which is fabulous, so I'm gonna go ahead and take my lash. So to the best of my ability, I'm going to lay it on that lash glue on the outer corner and just let it do its own, try and get it where I want. And then I really want to make sure that I let it point up. Once those are applied, now I'm going with mascara, and I really just want to use it to connect my lashes to the falsies. I'm going to try my best to ignore my lashes on the outer corner because I want to keep it open. And I do think she kind of did a very similar thing, / she might have done it a little bit lower. I don't know. We're playing around. We'll eventually get it figured out, but I still feel like for my first time doing it, I think we did a pretty good job. I love just creating something new, not new, but even just new to me. And I really encourage any of you to do the same and just try something fun, try something different. I don't know, something exciting. And that is going to be it for today's video. I would absolutely love to know what you all think. Are you going to recreate this? Please let me know if you do. I would love to check out your beautiful work. Please subscribe if you did enjoy this content, and I will see you on my next one. Okay, bye.